Aiyuk wants out doesn't mean he's going to get out. Also doesn't mean that the local team shouldn't try like heck to get him out. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. There was news out of Santa Clara, California, as Aiyuk and his agents made known publicly that he has asked the 49ers, quote, respectfully, end quote, according to all of these reports, for a trade. He wants out. He'd rather be playing somewhere else. Now, if you push pause on that particular story, precisely at that point, it's worth getting excited about. This is a truly terrific wide receiver who at 26 years old is still very much in the prime of his NFL career, and who, from the Pittsburgh perspective, would be just the most perfect fit for the most obvious hole that they have across either side of the football. So there it is. Go get him. All right. End of show. Well, no, not really. Not really. As I see it, there are two distinct ways to view this entire situation. The first, and the one that would be of greatest interest to this audience always, is what should the Steelers do. I'm on record, and loudly so, as suggesting that Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin should do whatever they can to upgrade the wide receiver position. I feel comfortable doing that without making it a slight to the people who are currently in the building. I feel comfortable saying that I'm not ready to see George Pickens as a number one, as a true number one when it comes to the largest number of targets, the largest volume of responsibility. I love George as a splash guy. I'd love to see George continuing to mature. I don't necessarily love him in a number one context. I love the potential of a Roman Wilson. I love the maturation of a Calvin Austin. But more is needed. More is needed for the 2024 NFL season. What's more, the Steelers have a lot of cap space left. Khan's got a ton of room, and he can still create more because he hasn't come close to tapping all of his potential restructures. Worried about next season when the Steelers might have to actually pay a quarterback? Don't be. They're currently aligned to have the third most cap space in the NFL entering the 2025 season. It's sitting there at a whopping $89.6 million. That, my friends, can buy you a whole lot of quarterback and a whole lot of wide receiver. But the other perspective on this, to be honest with you, is really kind of deflating. Meaning if you're one of those people like I am who'd love to see Aiyuk wearing black and gold. Because even though he and the team had a meeting about a month ago, they thought it went well, nothing happened. The most recent precedent in the 49ers world for something like this was just last summer. Happened with Deebo Samuel, played out the same way over the same time period. What ended up happening? Samuel was signed. Same hardball from both sides, same threats from both sides. And in Aiyuk's case, the figures that have leaked out to the public, and Aiyuk acknowledged both of these, by the way, is that he's seeking a salary in the range of the $28 million that was recently given by the Lions to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Whereas the Niners are countering with $26 million. They're $2 million apart. When you're talking about these types of numbers, this scale, that's so easily bridged. Even if it's just through background stuff or more guaranteed money that gets moved up here or there, or how a signing bonus gets distributed. That's not some chasm in the negotiations. All you have here, I believe, between that team and that player is that team not wanting to get anything done right now, wanting to benefit further from the example that was set with Samuel, and in turn, that player just saying, yeah, I just want this done. That is not a scenario in which that team and that player aren't going to get this done. I really believe this is going to come to a boring conclusion. It just won't be as soon as Aiyuk clearly wants. But I'm also going to say this today, and I've said it before. He's not the only guy out there. He's not the only one who can help the Steelers. He's not the only one that they could bring in who could patch up a lot of these concerns that you'd have about that room in general. It might be, best of all, believe it or not, if it were to be a lesser player with a lesser commitment, because in that event, you'd be buying time for a Wilson or an Austin or somebody else. The one and only thing about this entire scenario that makes me cringy is paying a wide receiver at that level when I happen to believe, and I could be wrong, that the bubble's about to burst on that particular market, because you can't enter every single NFL draft every single summer and say, it's raining wide receivers, and you're waiting through the first round, second round, third round, and everybody who comes along is a superstar. Why would you go paying any of them $20, $25 million? I think that wide receivers are the next running backs in that regard. When we come back, J1Q. This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar. Today's J1Q comes from Matt in Dallas, who says, DK, you mentioned on the Tuesday program, along with Mike Hilton, the phrase that the Steelers never adequately replaced him, which made me wonder who else in semi-recent history of the Steelers struggled to adequately replace, and why might that be, besides the fact, obviously, that football is difficult. Thinking Ryan Shazier, Marquise Pouncey, those are roles, positions that have stagnated in mediocrity for years versus just having had a lone bad year. Okay, Shazier is the one that jumps out. I don't know of a stigma that's been attached to a single position in recent franchise history, quite the way inside linebacker was hit after Shazier's injury. Part of what makes it that way, and this is something that's always interesting to me, is that Shazier himself was so far ahead of his time. He was the modern inside linebacker back when we all were wondering, what the heck are they doing drafting this safety-looking dude and putting him up there? Because of that, and because it was going to take time in football for others to catch up, for the college game to catch up, for more players like a Patrick Queen or a Peyton Wilson to come along. Cole Holcomb is another. Just citing Pittsburgh examples, obviously. That was going to be tough. You were not going to be able to find a Lawrence Timmons, Vince Williams type and say, heck with it. We're just going to go back to the old school of linebacking. It's not going to happen. It can't happen. Not with offenses using all of those various receiving options. Pounce, that's a different case. I've been over the Kendrick Green debacle 100 times. Basically, short version, Mike Tomlin just wanted to bury his head in the sand and go all ostrich on the process and pretend that Green could just step right in, take Pounce's number, and play like him because that's what we all wanted. It, of course, didn't turn out that way. Mason Cole was brought in more as a reserve / emergency / stop the bleeding option, and he did well for a year, and then he didn't do well in his second year. Ideally, Zach Frazier takes care of that. Same as Queen and Wilson would take care of inside linebacker. The position you didn't mention, though, and I'm going to guess it was a big percentage of people listening to this who are going, dude, did you really not say quarterback? I'm not picking on you, Matt, but quarterback is the one that screams out here. the player the Steelers have yet to adequately replace is Ben Roethlisberger. Ben's been gone for a while now, and the only quality quarterbacking the Steelers have received from anyone since his departure is 1 full month of Mason Rudolph. Mason having, of course, put together the NFL's very highest quarterback rating in that month. I don't know if he would have sustained it. I don't know if he would have had such a thing had he played all season long. Odds are against that, obviously. But it was 1 month. That's it. And I don't know that that's going to change in the 2024 NFL season. Obviously, Russell Wilson comes with a track record. Obviously, he should have a good chance of restoring the franchise to at least an average level of play at that position. But do you see him as a long-term solution? I'm just saying that because he's in his mid-30s. For that matter, do you see Justin Fields as projecting into a long-term solution? Even if you do, you can't say it with any certainty. No, my man, this is all about quarterback. Still, I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.